Alright guys, so I've gone ahead and done purple mottling and purple undertones on both kits all over. I've got a few things still baking and a few other things still cooling. Right now I'm working on yellow undertones, so I've already gone ahead and done Charlotte, and now I'm going to do Summer Rain. So I've got some thin yellow paint on my brush. Just going to go ahead and swipe that across the nose and immediately blend it out. Again, we don't want anything to be dramatic. Subtlety will ultimately build up and look more realistic. And then a little bit on the chin. Also blending that out. In this section, just under the eyes at the tops of the cheeks. Essentially the parts where I do yellow is the parts that kind of have some height to them and that you sort of want to highlight. So the parts that sort of stick out most from the face. I don't always do this, I'm going to do a little bit just across this brow portion, only because Summer Rain's expression is quite frowny, and so the brow is very prominent. And then I'm also going to do just kind of around this upper portion of the ear. On Charlotte, I actually did it on a different part of the ear because the way these ears are shaped, different parts are more prominent on each kit. And same thing over here, all the way down to the lobe, so that the overall effect on this will be kind of highlighted. Alright, I'm also going to go ahead and really reach over here. I don't do a lot of yellow undertones on the limbs, but I am just going to take it across the tops of the toes, not right across the creasy, sort of knuckly part, but right above the nail. And then I'm also going to do a little bit of that on the heel. So this part's also kind of highlighted. Okay. Do the same thing on the other foot, on the heel, and then kind of across this part of the toe. And then again, I gotta reach. Alright. And I'm gonna do a little bit of yellow, like I did on the toe, across the fingers, but not on the knuckly part, on the part in between the knuckles. So if you're looking at a real finger, not these parts, not these parts, but the part in between. Gosh, my hands look dry and beat up. When I'm reborning, I wash my hands a lot with dish soap versus like regular hand soap, because the dish soap will really strip my hands of oils and dirt and like thinner and stuff that I get on my hands during painting, because I don't want to transfer any of that to my dolls. So I feel like every time I get up to put something in the oven or take something out of the oven, I go wash my hands. So it's a lot of hand washing. Alright, so now I'm going to do some yellow mottling. So just like I did with the purple, I've got my little model sponge here, I've got some paint on my brush. I'm just going to swipe it on. It looks like this brush already has a lot of paint on it. It doesn't have any paint on it. It's just the color stains the sponge. So when it's this darker shade of yellow, that's when there's paint on it. Alright, so blot that off. I'm actually going to go back to Charlotte, just to kind of help me keep things in order. And let's go ahead and model her in the same pattern we did as the purple. This is also a super thin layer. All layers are super thin. this is not going to be nearly as visible as the purple. So it's not, one, it's not as easy, nor is it as necessary to hit every single spot with the yellow. I still try to. But this is probably, apart from maybe the blue and green mottling, this is maybe the most subtle of all the mottling layers. All right. And I mostly just do it to keep kind of a glowiness and a warmth to the skin. All right, so I'm back with the Princess Charlotte kit while Summer Rain bakes, as does the rest of Charlotte's body parts. Her limbs are still baking. I've gone ahead and done the yellow undertones and mottling all over both kits, and now I'm on to some red. So I've got this sort of like, it's a random mixed color. I'd say it's probably a mix between the warm blush and the lip and nail color. So it's kind of like a bricky red, but also a bit of a blood red. And I'm adding some redness to the parts I think will need it. Obviously the lips. Again, taking my time. It's better to kind of like be more within the lip than you need to be versus going outside the lip line, because you can always kind of bring it out further, but once you've sort of drawn out past that lip line, you can't really bring it back in. Plus, I think having the innermost part of the lips being a slightly deeper shade adds a lot of depth to the lips. I do know that some people tend to kind of line the lips in a darker color and then have the inner part be lighter, which looks really nice. I kind of prefer the opposite, the inner part of the lips being deeper than the outer part. All right, so I'm also going to add a little bit of red along the upper eyelid. I will go in later and do capillaries and things like that when I get to fine detailing, which will add more red to the lid. But again, I just like to add lots of thin layers early on to kind of add to that overall effect. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the whole inner part of the ear. So we did this part earlier in purple. Now I'm also going to do this part. Make sure to blend it. So we're adding more depth to the ear, but we're adding it to all parts of the ear this time. And I actually started keeping a list now of all the layers I'm doing, because I'm really curious to know how many layers I do per doll. I think I estimated at first like a minimum of 20 layers. But now that I look at this, I've been reborning for, what time is it? Like 2 hours now maybe, and I'm 4 layers in. That's working on 2 dolls at a time, which is obviously slower. So I'm averaging 2 layers per hour. And if I estimate these dolls are going to take me like 24 hours to complete, we're at 48 layers right there. So who knows, these could be like 50 layer dolls. We'll see, that's why I'm keeping a list. I don't generally do red in the nose, but this kit has really nice deep nostrils, so I can add a lot of depth to them. So I'm going to add a little red. Make sure it's not dripping out. Alright, so I've got my undertones on the head. I'm going to do them on the tummy. All I'm really going to do here right now, because I'm not doing blushing, I'm just doing undertones, I'm going to add some of this nice rich red color to the belly button, just the innermost part. I will kind of redden the entire belly button. Take a clean brush. Again, it's got really nice deep creases, which look very real in the end, but paint tends to settle in them, so making sure to get any paint out. And then taking a larger brush, I'm just kind of lightly dabbing over the entire nipple areola area. They're not super clearly defined on this kit. You know, sometimes they kind of have a bit of a boundary line. So I'm just doing kind of the size and shape I think they would be. And just lightly blending it. I don't want this to be too blended. So yeah, just a tiny bit of redness to this part. Alright, and now I'm going to do some red mottling. Alright guys, so I had to kind of take a break from filming for a little while just because there was a lot of other stuff going on while I was painting. But I've got my handy little list here, like I said I was going to start, showing all the layers I've done so far. Excuse my terrible handwriting. But I am 7 layers in right now, primarily mottling and undertones. So I'm just about to finish the 7th layer. What I'm on right now is green mottling. I didn't get to show, I don't know how much I showed of me doing red mottling. I think a little bit, but not much. And then I didn't show doing any of the pink undertones or pink mottling. But now I am on green, and this layer, much like the yellow, is very subtle, almost entirely unnoticeable. But again, I would rather do that than have the paint be too intense, in which case you can't take it away. But I can always add more green mottling later if I feel I need to. So I've already finished mottling Charlotte's head and tummy plate. I've finished mottling Summer Rain's entire kit. That's what's baking right now. And now I'm on to Charlotte's limbs. I'm kind of doing everything in a funky order just because the pieces of the Charlotte kit are so big that I have to break it up into multiple bakes, where I'll bake the head and the tummy plate at once and then bake the limbs a second time, just because, or a separate time rather, because the pieces are all too big to fit into 2 baking trays at once. So there we go. I've got green mottling done on this leg, trying to get it to focus. Super subtle. I'm running out of time for today because like I said, I normally try and paint till like 3:30, sometimes 4. But I have some errands I need to run today. So unfortunately, I'm only going to get to paint until like 2 o'clock today, I think, and it's about 1:30 now. So my goal is this will be my last layer of mottling for today. I might go ahead and do a flesh wash just to kind of tie all the mottling together. You know, it just helps it look more cohesive and under the skin. And I also want to kind of adjust the flesh tone of each kit. I feel like Summer Rain is looking a little pale and almost kind of gray, just because his vinyl just didn't have a lot of tone to it at all. It was very, very pale. Charlotte, on the other hand, is a little bit of also pale vinyl, but a little bit of a warmer vinyl. So I'm liking the complexion. I might go ahead and do like a bit of a pinkier flesh wash just to give this some more pink tones, because it is, like I said, a bit more yellowy and golden vinyl almost. So I've got that on. And then if I have time, I don't think I will, but I won't have time. But what I would be doing next would be, let me tilt the camera up a little bit so you can see this creepy limb tree. The next thing would be to do creasing. So this is about it for today. Like I said, I'm going to try and finish up as much as I can before I got to get going. And this has been a pretty successful first day of painting. Like I said, I got 7 layers in. Hopefully it'll be 8 by the time I'm done. I've got most, if not all, of my initial mottling done. I will end up doing more mottling after the flesh wash. But yeah, I'd say it's coming along pretty well. Thank you guys for reborning with me, joining me, listening to me chat today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.